Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be covering jobs everywhere, job openings by filtering preferences. And this is a really important section that I deal with a lot of the people I help in career development when they're looking for new positions and they're doing, career enhancement, job openings by filtering preferences. So oftentimes, and in my previous videos, I was talking about how I would have people choose maybe 5 or 10 corporations or businesses, people, companies they like to work with. Once I really have that list, with them and they've decided these kind of companies they want to work for, like Sony, or they want to work for Microsoft, I can begin to filter out those preferences with them to specifically use LinkedIn's data, their job data, by filters. And that can be done in the job section of LinkedIn when the job is being offered. So you go right to jobs and you say, I want to work for Microsoft. And then you go into Microsoft's business area. And then in that business directory, they have a list of all the jobs. And then we get to break it down further by specifically looking at the preferences of the job. And this allows to do micro-targeting. It's a very powerful tool I do with people looking for career advancement. And oftentimes, this is something that we have to discuss ahead of time because many people don't always know what they'd like to have. And so we really kind of break down the career development prior to that to get to the right preferences, the exact right preferences, and what they discover oftentimes when I'm working with people, executives, and those people that want to, advance their careers, looking for new jobs, we begin to realize that there are many openings within the same corporation. So Microsoft, the dream job they had at Microsoft, they realized actually there are 3 or 4 jobs at Microsoft that they would like to apply for. And their dream job was different now. Actually, they have a new dream job, or 1 or 2 dream jobs. So the opportunities, they expand quite a lot in this preference space that I work with clients on. Very important part of LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn's bread and butter from the beginning of its development, back when I was, maxing out LinkedIn in 2004, 30,000 contacts. Their recruiting space is their bread and butter, really. They generally make most of their profits off the recruiting space. So they really, hold the ability for recruiting, corporate recruiting specifically. And so recruiters, especially corporate recruiters, have advanced paid accounts, very advanced accounts. So they're able to do things that others are not doing because their corporation is paying for advanced searching. And that allows them to do specific things about out there recruiting people. So in my previous videos, I was talking about how important, your profile was and how it was well written and your summary is well written. Well, that's where it comes into place when you are looking to do a career shift, because these recruiters with that advanced account are able to hyper shift things by searches. So if it says, they're specifically recruiting a marketing director and your title doesn't say marketing director in it, though, it says marketing assistant or something, you're not going to be part of that filter. You're not going to show up for those recruiters. Also, it allows you in LinkedIn to specifically say you're being looked for as a job, and that's a mark off in LinkedIn that recruiters will come and see you. But more importantly, actually is we call the SEO, the search engine optimization of the wording in your profile, which I covered in several other videos. So the recruiting space in LinkedIn is extensive. It is worldwide, it is global, and it covers all the major corporations that you can really think in the United States. And, most of the things around the world. So it's the primary recruiting tool, still is the primary recruiting tool of corporations. some of the things to consider when dealing with recruiters is the recruiting space in the corporate space has two kind of sectors. There's the internal recruiting space of a corporation, meaning these are people that actually work for the company and they are recruiters in the company. And then there's a third-party recruiting space, and these are where corporations really have outsourced their recruiting to another person or entity, and they have a formal agreement with that person or entity to do the early recruiting, right? So you have to treat them both kind of differently. The internal recruiters, I mean, this is a really powerful one, is because they really answer to the hierarchy of the corporation because they work for the corporation. So if you're getting access to the vice presidents at Microsoft, and you want to work for Microsoft, then yes, if you're saying to a vice president, I would like to work for Microsoft, I see this open position, it's very likely that vice president might shift it down to that appropriate recruiter, and then that would create a domino effect where you would be contacted. Now, in the other party, the third party area, what's really important about that is to really research exactly what kind of third party company that is, right? So that opens up an interesting opportunity, and most people don't realize it. So I'm working with people that are very set on working for Microsoft, but they get into the third party recruiting area, and the third party recruiting area is handling, let's say, every 5 or 10 other tech companies, not just Microsoft. And so when they hit them up with that particular situation, they realize that they multiply their opportunities. As long as they keep themselves flexible, they might end up working for Zoom instead of Microsoft, or they might end up working for Tesla instead of Microsoft. So, but for a better position, maybe better areas. Even right now, where we're speaking right now, there's an extensive amount of tech hiring going on right now and going through this heavy recruiter space. One of the fastest ways I discovered how to find recruiters is really to go through the Google search and then hyperlink it into a LinkedIn search. So I'm into Google and I'm saying Sony, Human Resources, Director, LinkedIn, and that gives me the direct link into Sony's HR. That way I can get access to all the group of recruiters or the head recruiters within, example, Sony. So this is really a shortcut to get access quickly to the recruiters. Recruiting space, very powerful. So I'm going to kind of do an overall, because this video here on my channel related specifically about career development for LinkedIn has been done in several different videos, broken down into certain videos. Of course, it's an overview of what I do with clients, because what I do with clients is very extensive and very individual. It's specifically related to those as individuals. So I don't really have a systematic system that I duplicate with everybody. And in these videos, you'll notice that I discuss things that I talk about over and over again. But when I work individually with people, it is very individualized, right? So it's nobody's the same. So the only thing similar in this is really how LinkedIn is used, but not the strategy. So the strategy in itself is the secret to success. So things to keep in mind, and these final notes about what I've covered here on all these different videos, as well as in the video you're watching right now. So LinkedIn is a powerful, powerful tool. Has been developed as one of the earliest social media tools. I believe it's more search engine than a social media. It has a lot of things that would call it a social media, just like a social media React. But the reason that I call it more a search engine is because it holds data that many other spaces do not have. It holds corporate data, corporate information, and corporate access. And when you keep that in mind, you realize that it's a different space altogether than many other spaces out there, like Instagram or Facebook or any of the other social medias out there, because it's really related to business corporations and business corporate attitudes and relations to the entrepreneur space, self-employment space, very heavy in LinkedIn. And there's always something new that's going to be popping up. within LinkedIn. The video came along where you can now do your videos through there, and they're going to have a new thing that just started where they have video introductions. So video integration is going to increase in LinkedIn, so look for that. Keep that in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is how you're using specifically groups in LinkedIn. And so if you're looking to network within high areas, you need to know exactly what those areas are, and then look and see if there's any influential groups in LinkedIn and the group leaders of those. You know, one of the major tips that I give when I work with people is always connect to the group leaders first before you go into organizing or connecting into groups. And that is a big thing to keep in mind, some of the final notes that I've said overall. But now, I've been working so long with people about career development and business development in the LinkedIn format. I can tell you that the data, the hard data in LinkedIn allows you to be a data scientist. And really what I have become is a data scientist over these years. A data scientist, in my terminology, my definition, is a person that takes big data, hard data, and transforms it to utilize it for a need for themselves or for others. So I'm using the informational need for people that need to do career development, or they need to do sales development, or they need to do entrepreneur connection to the right people. Sales, marketing, and career development are all kind of part of the same world. You really have to know how to sell yourself. That means to know how to sell yourself in images and words. I mean, that's in effect what a resume has to do. It's selling yourself in words. And then the interactive resume, which I don't view that, but some people think that's what we're looking at with LinkedIn, an interactive resume. That does get into videos and images and looks, and so much is changing right now because of technology. But I view LinkedIn as a professional story of your life, not just a resume or interactive resume. It's more encompassing, and it's way more than a page long. Like most recruiters out there, people you go to, they would ask for a one-page resume or try to get it to 1 or 2 pages maximum. But LinkedIn is not that. Since it is a search engine like I described it, it has to be more extensive and very complete. So things to keep in mind as you're doing that. It's been my honor to kind of bring these out through my channel. This is a very new channel. I'll be covering many different topics on this channel. And I hope you will subscribe to my channel, and we will see you next time.